On the 12th of April 1989, Sabrina Butler returned from jogging near her home in Columbus, Mississippi, to find that her infant son, Walter Dean, had stopped breathing. She unsuccessfully attempted CPR before rushing him to the local emergency room, where he later died. Medical staff at the hospital noticed bruises on the boy's body and told police that they believed he had been the victim of abuse. Sabrina was interrogated by police, and despite protesting that the bruises were a result of her attempts at CPR, she was arrested and charged with capital murder. At her trial, the prosecution argued that she had inflicted the fatal wounds intentionally, and she was found guilty and sentenced to death before an appeal granted her a new trial. In court, it came out that Walter Dean had likely died from a kidney problem and that the original autopsy had been inadequate. Sabrina was exonerated and released in December 1995.
When I came back from jogging, I went in the kitchen to get a bottle and took it in the room, and I noticed that he wasn't breathing. I didn't know what to do. The first thought was just to grab him and run, just to try to get him some help. I found out later on the CPR that I was doing was adult CPR, and I could hear him like making noises, and I thought maybe it was working, on the way. So I kept on doing it because I thought maybe that's what you supposed to do when you do CPR. So I kept on trying to do it until we got to the hospital. When I got there, they took him from me, and I stayed in the emergency room for it seemed like a long time. And they came out and they said it wasn't nothing they could do. The first thing came on my mind was, I left him at the house by himself. I'm gonna go to jail for leaving him at the house by himself. I never in a million years thought that they would say, oh, you killed your child. After they started questioning me at the hospital, they asked me to come to the police station. They started asking me a bunch of questions, and I was telling them what happened. And he said, no, that ain't what happened. He said, you beat the baby, you stomped that baby, you did this to the baby. And I kept saying, no, I didn't do that. And he said, yeah, you did. You killed that baby, and every time I would write the statement out, he'd take what I said, ball it up, and throw it away. And he wrote a statement out, and they kept screaming at me. Him and another detective was in the room, and they scared me so bad. They had kept me up so long, and I was just saying whatever I could say for it to be over. 9 hours after he died, I was charged with murder. The court-appointed attorneys I had only called one witness. The state had 22. There were expert witnesses, doctors and the coroner. They made me sound like a monster. They made me sound like the worst person in the world. And I was saddened by what they were saying, but I knew I couldn't do anything to change it. And I didn't understand a lot of it, you know what I'm saying? Because I was just a young kid, a young, dumb kid, really. I think that the jury believed the expert witnesses because they're doctors and they got PhD degrees and all that. And they would say, well, they have no reason to lie, and this got to be true. The jury really listened to them. They really did. When they found me guilty and they had sentenced me to die, I just gave up. I just said that, my life is over. I sat on the floor in that cell. I know I cried for 2 weeks. There was one girl already on death row. I was in my cell alone, and she was in her cell alone. And our toilets were like connected together, so we would get on the floor and use those as telephones to talk back and forth. And she had been on death row longer than me. So she would kind of talk to me, and keep me going. I stayed on death row actually 2 years, 9 months. They overturned my sentence, and I was under the impression that I was gonna go right on back to court. But the district attorney made me sit in the county jail 3 more years until I went to trial. The expert witnesses that the state had, most of all of them recanted their story. They were like, well, CPR could have been the cause of this, why her son died like he did. And the coroner said that at the time he did the autopsy, the state really didn't have no money, so they kind of just threw that autopsy together. I just was like, are you serious? Because these are professional people and they're supposed to be, where they can tell exactly what's going on. And all of a sudden, they changed their stories. I'm the only female currently in the United States that's ever been exonerated. Of all death row inmates, it's 144 of us, I think. Right now, I have 2 more children. I'm married. I'm a coach of my daughter's softball team. It has affected me tremendously because even now, today, when my my husband is asleep, I walk through my house and I check them constantly. I still don't sleep as good because I want to make sure that don't nothing happen on my watch.